Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first video. I'm Caitlin of CEMistry Creations, and I hope you enjoy what I have in store for you today. So, as this is my first video, I just thought I'd do some simple sewing stuff. I have really big clue what I'm doing. Anyways, so today we're going to be working on a bit of a project that I thought up at random, because that's what I do. Gotta love my brain. So, it's just a simple dress project today, but eventually I will be doing a corset to go over that dress. So, let's get this party started! So, to start off, I thought I'd show you the digital sketches I did. They are extremely rough, by the way, but this will show the concept I'm going for, what kind of look I want. So I went with a chemise style dress because I got the idea after doing a chemise for a friend. And then I decided, hey, a drawstring off the shoulder look would be cute, but I also wanted to cinch the waist a little bit, hence why I decided to add the corset so that I could change it up the look as I pleased, and still have a cinched waist look if I wanted to. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then here you can see the finished drawing. Again, it's rough. I didn't even color it in properly. Let's go! What materials are you going to need for this project? Well, obviously you're going to need fabric and thread, and preferably a sewing machine, because that'll be less stress on keeping your stitching consistent. I would also recommend a serger if you don't want to have to fumble around with a French seam, but you can do French seams if you want, but a serger will finish the edges. I went to fashion school, so I have some leftover fabric from my graduate collection, including this satin that I bought 11 meters of. I didn't need 11 meters of it. So this is what we're using. It is so damn soft. I'm so excited to make something out of it, because And then aside from that, if you want a contrast fabric to go with the drawstring ribbon or anything like that, you go ahead. You're also going to need a tape measure. Here, pattern paper. Here, scissors. Here's permanent marker or any sort of ink. A pencil, fabric shears. These will work a lot better on cutting the fabric and also limit damage to your paper scissors. Same with using paper scissors on the paper. Here, I don't use these on anything but fabric, and if anyone tries to, I will probably not be happy with them at the very least. So, then we go from there. I would also recommend having a sewing gauge and a ruler. Give me a sec to get the sewing gauge in case you don't know what that looks like. Sewing gauge, seam ripper, big helps. Big helps. So, that's what you need. And yeah, then you make the pattern. You go ahead. So the biggest and most important thing before you do the pattern is getting your measurements. I'd recommend wearing either very slim fitting clothes, or if you're measuring yourself, not wearing any clothes at all. Either way, you want limited stuff and layers between you and the garment. Or in this case, the tape measure that you're using to measure yourself with. So I would highly recommend you wear either as few layers as possible or as tight clothes as you possibly can that you own. Because again, it is important. There's a reason that when you're getting like a tailored dress specifically for you, they ask you to wear whatever lingerie you want to wear on the day of. And why they don't recommend you wear sports bras to those fittings, because no one wants to be dealing with the uniboob. Anyways, so first one we're going to need is like around the shoulders, like this. Doesn't have to be particularly tight, it's just enough to go around your shoulders. This will be the upper measurement for the main dress. It's not the flounce. And then for the length of the dress, really buttons up. Excuse me. You literally just, I'd recommend going like collarbone, and then just going from there. I would also recommend noting where your waist is. Is your natural waist, which is not where your pants sit. It is the slimmest part of your torso. Keep that in mind, okay? That is very important. So I am using this as a ruler. I am intelligent. I'd recommend adding an inch or two, like maybe down to your belly button, just to not make it too short. And then you pick whatever length you'd like. Pick from there. I recommend keeping your knees straight, your body as straight as possible. And then make sure to add at least an inch for hem allowance. And there we go. So I will now show you how to do the pattern. So making the pattern is actually quite easy. You just need to make a rectangle for your torso area using your shoulder measurement by the measurement of your torso length, which is the collarbone to your waist. And then you go from there. Then you flare out as much as you want to. Make sure to curve to kind of keep things even. And then you have a pattern. So now that the pattern is done, we cut it out and then we cut the fabric. I actually already, excuse the noise, sorry. I actually have it cut up. I actually have it cut out already. So this symbol right here, swap right paper. This symbol right here is to indicate that you cut it on a fold. Well, if you like to use that much paper and just pattern on a fold, I won't stop you. That is what they do in like conventional commercial sewing, but I don't work commercial, and I like having my paper and my sanity. So, yeah, I'm sticking with just doing the on the fold symbol. It's easy, not much pain is involved. And one thing I'm going to mention before we even start cutting the fabric, pre-shrink it. I cannot stress enough, pre-shrink your fabric. No matter what you're doing, if you haven't washed the fabric before, wash it. Like, chuck it in the washer, chuck it in the dryer, or do whatever you feel is necessary with the dryer and the washer to make sure you don't rip the fabric apart or all that stuff. That will make sure that your garment doesn't shrink after it's completed and you wash it then. Because you don't want that, because you might lose the fit on your garment, especially if it's something fitted like a corset or a jacket or a shirt or particular styles of skirt. You don't want those garments to be too tight, because first of all, it's painful. Second of all, it's going to mess up how it looks. So keep that in mind. Pre-shrink your fabric. Let's get to cutting. So I only showed the one pattern piece being cut out as well as the flounce, which was me just doing an 8 by fabric width rectangle. The reason I did this instead of doubling up is because satin has something called nap, where you need to lay your pattern dessert the same way on the fabric to keep it from looking wrong, and satin has that, as much as you may not be able to immediately tell. But as such, it is important that you lay the fabric a certain way. This is also with pattern fabrics, textured fabrics, so be sure to keep that in mind when you're making your own pieces. Some fabrics have nap. So, now that I've cut out my pieces, just like so. Give me a sec. Sure, just lifts right up on me, doesn't it? But yeah. Ta-da. It doesn't look like much right now, but that's because it's not sewn. That's the basics of sewing, Tori. Sorry if you hear that. My washer's, the washer's going right now. So we got 2 of these suckers. And then the large rectangle that I'm pretty sure is as long as my arms. This is just, yeah, a little less than. Yeah, and this is going to be like the flounce. It's going to be pretty bougie. I am gorgeous. So, let's get started on the sewing. Woo! Oh, now I'm seated with my sewing machine and my serger, just getting everything set up, making sure I got all the right threads. Do I have purple threads? Give me a minute. This is going to take a minute. I'm going to pause right now. I think everyone will like about this particular garment is the fact that it's simple. Well, you don't need to have a lot of sewing experience to draft the pattern or sew the garment itself. It's fairly straightforward and easy. So this is this is from someone who's been sewing like actual garments since high school, so I might be a little skewed in the opinion. But in my opinion, this is very beginner friendly. I would highly recommend it if you want to start getting into sewing your own clothes, but you don't want to like commit fully to getting all of your measurements and such. So it's, if you ask me, and my opinion that may be slightly skewed, I'd recommend this if you're new to sewing. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing it with satin if you're new to sewing. I'd recommend doing it with like a cotton. Or some other not slippery, slidey beauty. Like, look. Like, definitely get a feel for your fabric. If it feels slippery, it's probably slippery. And you don't want to use that, okay? That is a very bad idea. You're going to struggle and you're going to cry. Just as a heads up. Keep that in mind. And so I'm going to finish setting up my machine. My serger's, she's already set up. She's beautiful. Now I just got to get the machine set up. But I have fairly fancy advanced machines. And fairly expensive. If you need to go with cheaper, go with what works for you. Well, I do these because I'm like actually invested in sewing and stuff. So having these tools makes that easier, especially because I want to be able to make my own garments and such. So just get what works within your budget. That's a good thing. So get with what works in your budget and with your confidence level. Slut. And you'll be set with pretty much anything that you feel will work for you. Don't get overconfident. You will struggle. You will cry. Your garment will be ruined. Okay? That is my only tip. Moving on. So after pinning the pieces together for the main dress, I sewed them together. Very simple, just a running stitch. Be very careful so that the fabric doesn't pucker, because that is going to be a problem. If you need to, seam rip and just go from there. It's fairly simple. So I've sewn together the pieces and all that. I did have to make a quick adjustment for armholes because it's supposed to be off the shoulder. And if I don't have the armholes, it's going to be the titties out. Nobody wants the boobies to be out. Mark where I'm going to be putting the buttonholes for the drawstring ribbon. That's not hard. Just pin everything together, make sure that everything lines up appropriately, and then, yeah. Then you are set. Then you mark where you want it to go, whether you want it to be in the center or off center. I'm going with off center personally, but again, this design is really up to the interpretation of the creator. So after sewing in the buttonholes and attaching the flounce, I then just folded it over. I have a 1.5 inch drawstring as a result. You can do whatever width you like. Just make sure to take it into account when you're actually cutting out the flounce itself. That is very important. Otherwise, it ends up too short or too long, and you don't want that. So I got the drawstring and the flounce attached. I'm going to hem this, and then I'm going to show you the finished product after I cut something to make a drawstring out of. So here it is. I just love the volume of the skirt. Like, look at it. You get some twirl out of it. Not a lot, but still some. It is actually quite a bit longer in the sides than in the front and back, like in the middle. So take that into account when you're making your pattern. Still very pretty though. And this is going to be like the actual whole waistband. I'm actually going to do a corset to go over it, which will be in my next video. And then just drawstring the ribbon in. Then you use this thing here called the bodkin. You will be fighting your garment over whether this gets to go through or not. Wash the seams, okay? Not wash, watch. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. You know, all that silliness. And I hope that this works out for you and that you all have a good day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.